Hello there! I am Scorched Scales, and today we are finally starting Arc 3. Yeah, the third and so far final arc, even though I'm aware Arc 4 has been confirmed. And I've heard things about this arc. I have heard a few positive opinions, and I've also heard quite a few opinions which aren't positive. But as for my opinion, we're still building it, because over the last week, I have been reading The Lost Continent, the first book of this brand new arc, our third introduction to a arc, since this is the beginning of an arc, and our introduction to the brand new continent of Pantala? I believe it's called Pantala. But as for my vague ranking, we'll have to go to the tier list, as always. So, as for the Lost Continent, right now, personally, I would rank it around here. Yeah, this is still in the good category. But I won't lie, this is on the lower end of it. And I will say, in retrospect, I will move the Dragonets of Destiny up to a higher tier, because I ranked that book too low to begin with. So yeah, once again, to start off, I didn't hate this. I didn't find it boring. The book had very good ideas. And of course, I like the characters too. But there are quite a few issues here that prevent me personally from ranking this any higher. Okay, so, diving straight into this. I did like The Lost Continent, but I think this is a solid low 7, high 6 for me. First, I'm gonna start by talking about the negatives, because for me, there's one major issue that really stops me from enjoying this book more, and that's the pacing. Because I've mentioned in the past that I'm very particular with pacing. Like, if something is too fast, oh, I don't like it because, it's too fast. And if something's too slow, I'll go, oh, but this is boring. And I do think this book lingers on the edge of it being too slow. But I don't hate this, it's just that I think there's multiple aspects to my problem with this. And the main one that comes to mind is how much page time is selected for each part of the book. Like, the moment that comes to mind to me is when Blue is in the library meeting Cricket. And that lasts for 2 whole chapters? Like, really? We spend 2 chapters in the same place, with the same characters, having the same conversation? I really think that chapter could have very easily have been 1. But the other issue with the pacing is probably more of a me issue. But the book never really grabbed me. Like, I did care about the characters. But like, I didn't find myself going, ooh, I really want to continue. But of course, I'm going to continue because I want to finish the book. But I didn't have a burning desire to find out what's going to happen next. However, there was one segment that really enticed me, and that was when Blue was in the hive and he was running away from the Hivewings after they caught Luna. I found myself going through the book being like, ooh yeah, this is nice, but it really feels like we're stalling. When is the story really going to begin? And I didn't realize that the story really had begun until we got to the climax. I don't know if that's a me thing, or if this is a problem that multiple people have experienced with the book. I know I've said these exact words when specifically referring to the Lost Heir, but it really doesn't feel like a lot happens in this book. Which is odd because, thinking about it, there are quite a few different locations, there's quite a few segments in the actual book. But in retrospective, after reading it, this may be a memory thing. To me, it doesn't feel like a lot really happens. Like, they spend a really long time in that cave. They spend a lot of time talking instead of actually acting, which I guess in this scenario makes sense because that's Blue's character, since he acts as the audience surrogate, and how at the beginning he trusts and believes the government, and it 100% makes sense for a pacifist character who's quite trusting to prefer talking instead of action. I mean, like, yeah, that might be the whole point, but that didn't really click with me on a storytelling standpoint. The actual through line, the actual plot, it's nice, I like the ideas, it's a good story and concept. But once again, it just didn't really grab me, you know? Like, there are some phenomenal ideas here, and hell, this book even pulled the rug under me a few times. But to me, not really getting engaged with the story, that does dampen the story quite a fair bit in my opinion. Alright, so the positives. Yes, there's quite a few positives. As soon as I said that, I remembered another negative. My memory isn't really helping this book, is it? Okay, so one more negative thing before I move on to the positives. I do not like the epilogue. Like, yeah, I understand how, ooh, Luna disappeared, and how you want that to be resolved in this book because, ooh, the audience might be worried. The epilogue of this book is directly connected to the epilogue of Darkness of Dragons, in which I critiqued the epilogue of Darkness of Dragons for not being very subtle. In Darkness of Dragons, the epilogue there was like, just a little bit too much salt in there. But for the Lost Continent, the entire bag of the salt was just shoved in there. Like, there is zero subtlety in the epilogue of this book. Like, Jerboa finds Luna, she takes her in, nurses her, and then Moon and Kibble come along and talk to her. They have a full-on discussion. Meanwhile, I personally think it would have been better if the book just described, then Kibble and Moonwatcher appeared. I think that would have been a lot more subtle than going, yes, these are the two characters that you like. Here they are. Stop complaining. I'm curious how the entire situation with Luna is going to go. Because currently, she's on a completely different continent. And I'm aware that the story goes over to Pyria in book 4. But in that case, what the hell is Luna gonna do for 2 entire books? Obviously, she isn't going to be on the page. Like, she's probably just going to be relegated to just the epilogues. But like, is she just gonna be sitting around, just twiddling her fingers, just waiting for her friends to come? Okay, so now, on to the positives. I think this book does the whole reluctant protagonist who pretty much gets dragged around for the entire story better than Towns of Power did. Because for Towns of Power, it felt like we were experiencing a Darkstalker story through the eyes of Turtle. But for this book, this actually feels like Blue's story. Unlike Turtle, Blue actually has a drive. He has a reason to go out there and at least do something. Because he wants to get Luna back. Because of course Luna is his sister and of course he wants to get her back. But he is reluctant to break the rules. Because he wants to follow rules and he's stereotyped as being like sort of like a teacher's pet character. He always obeys the rules. He always does what he's told. But this book takes the reluctant protagonist and drives him along by making him have a drive throughout the story and with the characters around him pushing him forward. Meanwhile, in Towns of Power with Turtle, we just have the characters around him. He doesn't have a personal pull to make him go forward in the story. And another positive is that this book has some really, really good ideas that could really have something to chew on. Like, it's no secret that this book is talking about slavery, essentially. Like, wow. To talk about, ooh, slavery, revolution, going against the government, in a book that would be found at school fairs. That is bold. I like that. And even getting down to the individual ideas within the story, I think there's like some really good stuff in there. Like, this is one line during the beginning of the book that refers to the Hivewings' homes like cells. Like, damn! At the beginning of the story, we are seen through Blue's POV. But there are little hints like that, even in the beginning, even when we are more trusting of the government, that still shows their true intentions and the world that Blue has yet to comprehend. There is one specific detail in this book that practically made me go, wow, damn! And that's to do with the carvings on the wrists, I believe it's on the wrists, or it might just be on the arms, of the Silkwings. So every Silkwing essentially has a part of their family tree drawn onto them. Like, damn! And the oppression of the Hivewing government. I also find that really interesting because it doesn't only affect the Silkwings and the Leafwings, but it also affects the Hivewings as well. The main example that comes to mind to me is the librarian who's guarding the Book of Clearsight, and how it essentially says that the Queen possesses the mind of the librarian 24/7, constantly torturing her, constantly making her not herself, having zero control over what they do. Like, damn! And the corruption of the Hivewing government is also seen throughout more Hivewings, with the whole mind control thing. Like, damn! That is horrifying. Like, especially when their eyes go blank, and they all speak in unison, as if they were a hive mind. Hold on a second. Hivewings? Hive mind? How am I just realizing this now? Like, yeah, it's horrifying to see that the oppression of the Hivewing government also affects their own tribe. Like, I love how this book is going out of its way to present the Hivewings as if they aren't all evil. Like, it's not black and white, it's a lot more subtle than that. Like, yeah, a lot of revolution stories picture the oppressors as being evil, which is 100% valid. But this goes out of its way to show that, oh, there's multiple layers to this, and there are good people, dragons in there. Is that they're also being oppressed by the big figurehead who is Queen Wasp. Like, yeah, thinking about it, from what I remember, I think Queen Wasp is the only dragon who isn't oppressed. Like, maybe her and, like, the highest ranking Hivewings. Like, damn. This book is really saying, fuck the government. Based. I'm very intrigued to see how this all develops in the future books. And just one more positive thing before we move on to the characters. But the twist at the end, where it's revealed that the Book of Clearsight, the reason that everybody is oppressed by the Hivewings, it's all a lie. In the Book of Clearsight, it's predicting the future. It contains Clearsight looking into the future and writing things down as warnings for her offspring. And it's practically empty. It says in the book that the Book of Clearsight stopped giving details 900 years ago. So everything that's been going on in their world. It isn't because, oh, the Book of Clear Sight said so. No. It generally is just oppression from the Hivewings, and they've just been using the Book of Clear Sight as an excuse to do so, to gain power from the other tribes and Hivewings who dare question them. I wasn't expecting a shocking twist like that at literally the very end of the book. Okay, so now, moving on to the characters. As for Blue, I do have quite a few things to say about Blue. First of all, I adore his design. Like, all of the official artwork about Blue all just look gorgeous. Blue is probably my favourite design of a dragon in Wings of Fire. He's just so pretty! Although, I do find it a bit odd that he's called Blue, but he's mostly purple. But as mentioned earlier, I do think this book does the whole reluctant protagonist thing better than Tons of Power, in my opinion. And there's one specific moment near the end of the book where he's... I forget the actual context behind it, but he's thinking about the Hivewings and whether if he should obey the rules or not. Like, he's doing the whole usual, oh god, listen to the rules thing. But then his mind goes into, what would these Hivewings do? Would these Hivewings treat me with said kindness? There's really a tipping point in part 3 where Blue goes, oh, yeah, this ain't great. Then there's Cricket. I do like Cricket, but I fully admit I don't have that much to say about her beyond that. Other than, I do like her. I do like the relationship that she's building with Blue. I think they're cute together. And I'm very intrigued to see why Cricket isn't affected by the mind control. Like, I'm very, very intrigued to see how that turns out. And then there's Swordtail. I like Swordtail. I think he's funny. And then there's Sundew, who's a protagonist in book 3. I'm aware that she's probably a fan favourite, but she didn't really have a good first impression on me. I'll fully admit, I didn't really like her at first, and I'm still kind of meh on her at the moment. Like, yeah, I understand why she's more aggressive considering what she's been through and what she's been raised for, but like, come on, surely you can be less of a dick? But yeah, again, considering what's going on with the Leafwing tribe, I can 100% see why she acts the way she does. Then there's Luna, who I'll fully admit I don't have anything to say about. Then there's Admiral. Now, I'll fully admit, I don't have a lot to say about him as an individual character. But in this book, Tui essentially reuses what she did with Winter and Hailstorm in Winter Turning with Blue and Admiral, because when Blue meets Admiral, this is when Blue is going through his character arc and has mostly completed it, with him questioning authority, questioning his place in this world, and taking into consideration the oppression of his tribe. And with him in the beginning being a loyal Silkwing. And Admiral, he is essentially Blue from the beginning of this book. He is Blue before Luna got captured. Admiral is completely loyal to the Hivewings. He thinks he's doing good, and he doesn't think twice about what's going on. Like, wow. That is the same function that Winter and Hailstorm served in Winter Turning, to show Winter's progress throughout the book, and to make him conflict with his past ideals. Admiral and Blue do the same thing in this book, and I think it's well done here. Although I will say, there is a line in this book where a Silkwing unironically uses the word trolls to describe somebody who's critiquing them Like, wow. The book gets multiple points taken away just for that. And the last character I'll talk about doesn't even appear in the book. Queen Wasp. I think Queen Wasp has potential to be quite possibly the best villain in Wings of Fire. Like, yeah, she isn't going to be as deliciously evil as Scarlet was. But I really think there's a lot of material here to make her a phenomenal villain. Even though she doesn't physically appear in the book, there is a looming presence of her wherever they go. Like when the characters encounter the librarian, they are essentially talking to Queen Wasp. And I won't lie, it's kind of intimidating. This character has intimidated me without her even physically appearing in the book. Like, wow. I'm really intrigued to see where her character goes in particular. So yes, those were my very weird thoughts on the Lost Continent. Like, yeah, there is quite a few issues here. Like, especially with me not being really that engaged with the story. Like, that is a big, essential issue that might just be a me problem. Like, I'm very intrigued to see if anybody else had that problem, or if that really was just me. Even though, yeah, this is my least favourite out of the 3 starter books. But this isn't bad. There are a lot of good ideas in here, and these could make very good foundations for the future of the arc. But I will say, I have heard a lot of people critique this arc and how it dealt with its ideas. And I guess I'll just have to wait and see what I think about the ideas and the executions of them when I get there. Like, I'm very intrigued to see what happens next in the Hive Queen. But as for the drawing that you saw in the background, of course, I drew blue. And I love this. This is my first time seeing the art since drawing it. And I actually really like this. But this may just be me really liking Blue's design. Like, yeah, it's not perfect. But I do really like how this came out. Like, I adore the colours. There isn't any depth to this one. I just think it's really pretty. So yes, now this is really all I have to say. So, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you another day.